What's up, everybody? Summer Games Fest has finally wrapped up, and after I took a little bit of a break and the time to collect my thoughts and make sure I get all the information out here, I've decided to a gameplay breakdown of what we were shown for this Mortal Kombat 1 gameplay reveal at Summer Games Fest. Before I get into it, though, I just want to let you all know that tomorrow I will be playing in the EVO FGC Arcade Series for Mortal Kombat 11 for a chance to go to EVO in Las Vegas this August, and I will be live streaming that over my Twitch at LudiFGC. So if you like watching Mortal Kombat and you want to talk about any of the new information we gather from here, see me there. To start off, though, we're just going to start with the gameplay reveal trailer, the cinematic sort of one we got, and then we're going to go into the little talk that Jeff and Ed had afterwards, and what we can gather from what they said, as well as the gameplay that they were shown in the background there. Like I said, I'm going to be focusing on the gameplay for now, but the one thing I want to point outside that is I never expected to see Kung Lao with boot cuff jeans in my life. This design is wild. So first thing we can note from the gameplay after Sub-Zero does his little 3-hit string right there is that grabs are once again high as we see Kung Lao wake up, or I guess get up off the ground and just, oh, he was actually blocking right before it looked like, but he let go of block just to neutral duck, ducks under Sub-Zero's throw and punishes it. So not like throws in Injustice where they were mids and you had to tech them or jump them, very similar to the throw system we have in MK11. A lot of people are saying that this game looks like it's built off a lot of work set by both MK11 and Injustice 2, and we'll get more into why later. So a brand new special move we see from Kung Lao right there, and if we go frame by frame, we can actually see very subtly what looks like the very common notifier of an EX special move in these NRS games, especially in MK9, MKX, and MK11, which is the character having a special, like, sort of white flash to them. And at the start of this Kung Lao special, we actually see that coming out, meaning that this launcher is likely an enhanced special move using a bar of meter. MK11 deviated a lot from the previous NRS games in that a lot of characters did not have special launching moves unless they spent a bar of meter. And this makes me wonder if the tradition will be the same here, or if we'll return to more meterless launchers like in MKX. And that leads right into the next interesting thing we get, which is what looks like the return in a way of air combat, the system from Mortal Kombat Armageddon, through which everyone did their air juggles. Basically, when you launch the opponent in the air with a certain set of moves or a certain special, what you can do is chain your jump-in attacks together into one combo. And additionally, looks like the neutral jump punch from MK9 and MKX is returning as well. But the combo route that Lao does right here is very, very similar to his MK11 combo routes, not so much his MK9 or MKX ones, where instead of using the hit of the dive kick to juggle, he actually does a jump in into whiffing the dive kick just to get underneath the opponent and continue a combo. Very reminiscent. And that special right there looks like sort of a new version of what was his 2-1 string in MKX, and which became his forward 1-2 string in MK11. A very advantageous knockdown, which I think we see him just completely whiff the special right here and get punished by Sub-Zero. Leading into this Sub-Zero jump, so something I just thought was interesting was that the ninjas in all the Mortal Kombat, or at least the NetherRealm titles, whenever they jump forward, they usually kind of like tuck and roll and go into a front flip. That actually is pretty important to just the whole way that like grounded opponents or just the opponent in general interacts with jumps. But right here, Sub-Zero does a jump arc that looks very similar to, I thought of Aquaman from Injustice 2, where he just jumps straight up in the air with a very floaty long jump and then continues the combo on the way down. He goes into this special where he makes a sledgehammer using his ice, and this reminded me a lot of the Cryomancer variation from MKX, and we get to see better example of what I think the air combat mechanics will work like in this game. So you see Sub-Zero do what looks like a jump 1 into a jump 2 with the spine. That's pretty sick. I'm just noticing that now. He summons a spine with a skull on it, you know, classic Sub-Zero fatality. What's important here is you see it bounces them off the ground so he can continue the combo. So that's clearly the successor to the neutral jump punch mechanic we saw in MK9 and MKX that was completely absent from MK11. And additionally, just the way he chained in those two jump-ins together show the potential for jump cancelability. Into the slide knockdown, and the EX stabs you with a spear. Very, very close on the slide knockdown, which is not normal for, here, let me go back. I think this is very abnormal for the special move outside the corner to leave the opponent so close on knockdown. Usually the slide leaves them pretty far, and the enhanced version will just switch sides. It's been like that for the longest time, I think. Now moving on to the breakdown of this little Kenshi Johnny action right here. We see what looks like Kenshi walking forward on his own volition while his spirit is attacking, and then following it up, and then the spirit attacks as well afterwards. So what I think this could be is something really interesting from NetherRealm Studios. Another idea they might have picked up from other fighting games. That's the concept of the puppet character. A puppet character refers to a character in a fighting game where you control your own character doing their own moves, but you have control over a separate entity as well, almost like, ironically enough for this game, an assistant acting on your behalf whose behavior and moves you influence with your own inputs, but doesn't directly affect your own character as much. The biggest example that comes to mind is Zato 1 from Guilty Gear. And just because Kenshi is moving on his own while his puppet's doing all this crazy stuff, or while his ancestor is doing all this crazy stuff, I think the possibility is there. Little full screen ender, classic for Kenshi as well. Kenshi, a lot of the stuff they show here looks like rushdown mix-up oriented stuff, and this character is known for being more of a zoner, so it'll be interesting if they're switching that. So now we get our first showcase of the Cameo system in effect in this game, and it looks like there's a lot of different applications of the Cameo system. And the first one here, with Kenshi teaming up with classic Sub-Zero, Ed talks about later how the cameos are all meant to sort of be throwbacks to the original iterations of these characters before this rebooted timeline that we're getting. And the first application of the Cameo system, like I was saying, looks to be joint X-rays. X-rays are returning from MKX, replaced with Fatal Blows from MK11. I think they might still be called Fatal Blows here, but they show the skeleton system for all the attacks, much like X-rays were in MK9 and MKX. And the way this joint super system works reminds me a lot of the Naruto Ninja Storm games made by CyberConnect 2, where I think it was in the third one. The way that Team Supers worked in that game was basically the supers would act separately and just play one after another with like a system in place to make them join together correctly. So you see after Sub-Zero does his X-ray here, that he just leaves Johnny in a standing dazed state, leaving Kenshi to follow up with his portion of the super. So the way I'm guessing it will work is that your Cameo fighter goes first, always does the first bit of damage, and then your playable character does the finisher for the super. Now this move right here, if you go frame by frame, so Kenshi's running at the opponent with his sword unsheathed, and this looks a lot like how people were saying this game might be taking a lot after Injustice 2, or maybe it was initially conceived as Injustice 3 before a lot of the rumors about WB's place as a continued gaming publisher, whether that would be continuing, whether they keep working with NRS. This looks a lot like Robin's Back Forward 3 special from Injustice 2, which was most commonly used as an ender where he would switch sides, but much like this move, he would just go into a run with his sword pointed to the side, and he could cancel out of it as well. But it looks like it may be more of a stance in this case, where I assume because it looks like it was going for so long, Kenshi ends it with this slow slash that gets blocked and then punished by Johnny. And right here we see on the throw punish that Johnny goes for, the camera actually switches to 3 different spots. And I'm curious if this is just the way throws are going to work now, that they're becoming more cinematic with changing camera angles, or if this is sort of taken after something we just saw with the recent release of Street Fighter 6, which is when you land a throw that's either a punish or a counter to your opponent's attack, the camera angle actually switches and that throw does more damage. Seeing as he did do this after blocking what looked like an unsafe Kenshi special right there, I'm hoping that could be the case. This could just be what throws look like, but if that extra effect is added because the throw actually has an extra property on punish or counter like I'm saying, that would be really interesting. And unsurprisingly, Johnny's Nut Punch special returns seems to have a very similar effect. Before it cuts away to him doing the little Star-Lord gag right here, it leaves the opponent standing, leaving Johnny with the advantage, as the regular version of Nut Punch usually does. In this little gameplay portion, we didn't see Johnny Cage throw any of his projectiles or really use any of his green powers that he's had in all the entries. Because we know this is a reboot, Johnny might not have the same origins. They're changing a lot of the characters' origins. Scorpion and Sub-Zero are brothers now. Melina and Katana are twins who were raised together. The whole reason Melina has her Tarkatan traits seems to be different. And additionally, Johnny might not have those special powers anymore. He might just be a Hollywood dude. And getting into this little gameplay segment where we see Liu Kang and Scorpion in-game for the first time, we see Liu Kang start with what looks like a string into a launching special for him where he, much like because he inherited his powers from Raiden, or Raiden gave him his powers, he teleports away, then comes back with an explosion, with both the effects of fire and lightning on the opponent. So even though Raiden is back in this game and it looks like he keeps his lightning powers, Liu also retains the same lightning powers that the previous Raiden gave to him. We get our first look at the Jax cameo here. This whole design looking very similar to his throwback costume in MK11, his old timeline self. And I forget the exact name of the special, but present in Variation 2 of Jax and MK11, and basically all versions of Jax. It's a little arm grab where he brings you down. Even though this looks like an assist that obviously locks the opponent into this animation, Liu Kang combos it into what looks like a new version of his fireball, where it doesn't even come out of his hands. He simply summons the Mortal Kombat dragon from off screen, and it actually hits Scorpion before he lands on the ground from this Jax assist. I'm imagining this assist could be very strong for the simple fact that the way combos work in Mortal Kombat has always been the more hits that you land, the faster the opponent falls and the easier it is for them to fall out of a juggle. But if this Jax assist landing always locks them into, being hugged by Jax, so you can always follow up for a combo, that's going to be very strong. I wonder if he would even need the assist to do this. He just does the fireball straight into the flying kick, knocking him even further to the corner. We see how the recovery on cameos might work as Jax slowly runs off screen there before we see Scorpion go into, his little montage for this trailer. So land spear, gets full combo off of it. This isn't like Injustice where he needed to enhance it. Or even MK11, he couldn't combo off spear without enhancing it, but no EX flash right there. And once again, what looks like this time a launching string into air combat does what's presumably a jump one. And instead of doing a... Actually, let me make sure this is a special move right there. You can see it very briefly right there. There's the flash for EX. So we see Scorpion has a new air special move right here. An air version of the spear, which pulls the opponent back in after he's already done an air combat sequence so that he can continue it, gets jump kick. And look at this. This is very interesting. So I don't think variations are in this game anymore. They have not said anything about that. I think we know about the mechanics in this game, at least what they'll launch with from what it seems. It looks like they're making his Demon Dash that was introduced as a custom move in MK11 part of his base roster. He lands this far jump kick and then... Just watch it in full for one time. Look at that. Dashes to the other side, knocks him down. Now this looked like a different version of Liu Kang's fireball. Perhaps he has two different versions. The first one was obviously fiery and it came all the way from off screen. But this lightning version... Look, the white flash right there. Yep, that's the EX version of his fireball. And he gets a juggle off of it. Wow. He got a juggle off the other one as well, but it was from full screen into the flying kick. But he did this fireball point blank and still got a combo. And another EX move right there, it looks like. Let's see. So there's the EX flash. And perhaps that's the new version of his bicycle kick right there. So it looks like Liu overall retains a lot of similar special moves to what he had before, but they all have very different effects. He no longer shoots fire from his hands. He summons a dragon god from off screen, and his bicycle kick, he actually spins around in the air and ends it upwards, at least in the EX version we just saw right there. And once again, very, very differently from MK11 where special moves, I should have explained this, in games prior to MK11, when you did the enhanced version of a special move, you had to commit to doing that enhanced version as you were inputting the special. You had to press the enhance button and the special input at the same time. But MK11 was similar to Injustice 2, where you could enhance the special move after the fact. For example, Liu Kang's bicycle kick in MK11, you would just land the bicycle kick, then press meter burn to get the meter burn version. But here we clearly see that he's doing the EX at the very start to get the enhanced version. So we get Kenshi fighting for a second time in the trailer, but this is more of the Raiden showcase. Raiden, having lost his godly power, is very young in this game. Obviously, this special right here looks very similar to his down back 2, I believe. What's it called? Storm Cell. Makes a literal cell of lightning around himself. And Sonya Blade in her MK1 costume as an assist, doing her famous leg grab, cartwheel kick thing. I forget what it's called. Side switch assist, and goes into a full combo. A lot of the assists seem combo oriented. And finally, we see another application of the cameos. First, we saw the X-rays. We saw the regular cameo attacks, of which it seems there are several. And now the breaker system looks like it is tied directly to the cameo system. So traditional breakers are back from MK9 and MKX. They work more like that as opposed to the breakaway system MK11. And when you do them, what happens is your cameo fighter comes in and breaks the combo. We see that when the breaker goes into effect, that both of the playable characters freeze. Meaning that unlike breakaway, which, didn't freeze the flow of the game completely when it was done, you could still hit the opponent. You could even still break the breakaway with certain specials and with fatal blows. Much like previous NRS games, once you do a breaker, it's set in stone that it will function properly. The playable characters freeze, and the breaker hits the opponent. Man, there's a lot of like MKX moves returning here. This fireball looking very similar to his MKX one where he threw a fireball. In MK11, he simply shot a bolt of lightning across the screen that had slow startup but traveled really fast. And then the teleport to full screen. Knife assist into a string, into a special, into an ender. And I don't know if this is just trailer editing. We have to look very closely, but it looks like he uses 2 cameo assists in 1 combo. I think it might just be quick trailer editing because I doubt it would recover that quickly. Let's just make sure. It looks like it might be. That's kind of crazy. This isn't really prevalent to the gameplay here, but it looks like since this is on Unreal 5 and going to be utilizing all the benefits of next-gen, SSD loading, when you pick your character on character select screen, it shows them clashing up close like this, and then without any loading screen or black screen in between, immediately transitions into the fight. And now the Edenian princess, well, Edenian? I guess they are Edenian, but also new queen and I guess queen's consort of Outworld, Melina and Katana get showcased here. Already looking way cooler than they did in MK11. They unfortunately kind of got the short end of the stick character-wise in MK11, both not very strong at all. Looks like the special that Katana will use to lead into her air combat sequence is this fan right here. She spins it around her head, launches the opponent in the air, puts them, in the fan native state up in the air, and then she does her air combat sequence up there. Melina's teleport returning looks like very, very fast startup. She was able to wake up with it and completely dodge Katana's fan right here. And it also goes into a hit on the other side. We'll have to see if that's the enhanced or regular version. And she actually gets a combo off it into the Goro cameo. Classic punch walk. Launch at the end into ball roll. Side switch ender. There's so many cool combos in this game. It's actually insane. Ed talked about how we'd see some characters appearing in both playable and cameos. And that's showcased here with Raiden calling in the MK2 Lao spin assist. Launching them very high in the air. Air combat sequence right there looks like 3 punch-ins into the electric fly. A lot of air versions of special moves in this game. Raiden usually has an air version. We saw it knock them down rather quickly into the corner right here. And right here we see Melina against Liu Kang. And it looks like Liu Kang has even another version of his projectile outside of the dragons we saw. A little merger of fire and lightning right there traveling at the opponent. Yet another example of Cameo's functions here, because Melina clearly lands this grab right here. Yet for the animation, she simply backs off and her cameo of MK3 Striker comes in with the flashlight into the taser. We did see Johnny Cage earlier just land a grab on his own, but there we saw the cameo was used for the grab. So perhaps we do see that the way cameos work is that they're on a cooldown system, just like assists in other games like Dragon Ball and BB Tag and things like that. I wonder if you can use that assist bar to get an enhanced version of a throw that does more damage in exchange for... This is a funny frame to be paused on. Holy shit, look at Lau. In exchange for losing your assist cooldown for a bit. Again, another application of the breaker right there. We saw Jax. But Jax doing the dash punch animation to break the combo right there. It seems the question is sort of answered, though, at the end of the trailer when we see playable Scorpion calling Cameo Sub-Zero, the classic Sub-Zero fit, to do his fatality on, I think this is a Kung Lao right here. And you see your playable character just kind of stands on the side, does a victory pose, and end of the trailer before we get into our gameplay breakdown with Ed. First thing we see here is a look at the character select screen. Obviously, I think this character select screen, not only is it far from final, I think it's a much older version of the game, or maybe even like sort of a mock-up in itself of the build that we were shown. We only see 4 playable characters, way less than what we just got from that trailer alone. And all these empty slots and everything. Little awkwardness on these models up here. It doesn't really match the art style of what I feel like we just saw. So this, I'm sure the actual game's character select will look nothing like this. The important thing to know from here is that first you pick your playable character, and then from a separate roster, which they show right here, you pick your cameos, of which we saw classic Sub-Zero, we saw classic Kung Lao, and the 3 we see up here, Sonya, Jax, Kano. There's probably some I'm forgetting as well. We saw Goro with Melina. So yeah, obviously way more confirmed characters than this weird mock-up character roster. Now, a very, very subtle thing that I don't know if a lot of people have picked up on yet. Let me move my camera. Oh, maybe it's just for this stage, actually. So we see this. I was thinking because clearly, if you see my mouse right there, indicates that there's 2 pages to the stage select, but it could just be a day and night version of a couple of stages, kind of like how there's alternate versions of certain stages in MKX with their infected variants. And if we pay close attention to the background here, you see how this opening dialogue transitions directly into the match, which is just so sick. I've never seen anything like that in a fighting game before. Again, I think this is very much a work in progress HUD. Looks very, very minimalistic. Probably looks like they just used some elements from MK9. Our understanding of the on-screen system mechanics, you have your assist call using the right bumper. It looks like R1 on PlayStation, right next to the character portrait at the top. And then 3 bars of super meter. So up from the 2 offense and defense that we got in MK11 and back to the system we had in MKX and MK9. 3 bars is the standard. While they're talking about system mechanics, you'll closely hear you see Sub-Zero do a new dive kick special as a punish. Doesn't get a combo off it, but goes into that same hammer move into the air combat system I was mentioning earlier.
You can call them pretty much whenever you want, and they have, like in the middle of a combo.
So, like you just said, you can't call them indefinitely, but you can call them whenever you want, meaning the cooldown on them is probably going to be pretty minor. This is probably the biggest combo we actually get to see in the gameplay so far. 26% Kenshi into classic special move for him right there. Enhanced, if we go very slowly, we can see the super, or the EX Flash. EX Flash into Ancestor Slam, into air combat sequence, knock them away. Oh, no punish on that. That looks like the ends answer back pretty fast. Maybe that move's actually safe. And then he just goes on to explain how the Cameo system is much a way of throwing back to the original era of Mortal Kombat and also Jean-Claude Van Damme's appearance in the game. And then they say their goodbyes. What I will say is I think we're going to see more of this game very soon as well. We saw Sonic Fox actually tweet earlier, I think yesterday, that they're flying out to LA for a very special occasion. So I'm going to keep my eye out for anything there. I'll keep posting about it on Twitter if anything comes up. You can follow me on my Twitter and Twitch. Like I said, I have a tournament run for the chance to go to EVO going down tomorrow, which I will be live streaming. And if you want to keep up with any news regarding Street Fighter 6, Mortal Kombat, the future of fighting games, or any of my gaming interests in general, be sure to subscribe. Thank you.